Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or from my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Scott Cagle, Joe Gamble, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Ben and Noel Bruning, and Patty Wool. B-ticket patrons, the Disney Rewind podcast, and Jeff and Paige Orton. And to the A-ticket patrons, Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, and the All Aboard podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the Nautilus submarine coming out of the waterfall and cave in the submarine voyage. On the back it reads, "Submarine Falls, the mysterious depths of the legendary Seven Seas have been brought to reality for passengers aboard one of Disneyland's air-conditioned submarines. Guests enjoy looking through portholes to view an underwater panorama of sunken treasures, mermaids, a sea serpent, and beautiful flora and fauna of the underseas world." It's postmarked September 22, 1967, with an Anaheim Always Use Zip Code cancel and a 5-cent gray Washington postage stamp, with a piece of selvage that reads, "Add a zip code to your mail. Always use zip code. Scott number 1213. Just a quick note that selvage is the excess paper product around a sheet of postage stamps. Sometimes it's just blank paper, other times there might be some printer's marks, or fun images like Mr. Zip, or slogans like this one reminding people to use zip codes. I assume they visited the park on Thursday, September 21st, when park hours were from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The weather was a high of 82 and a low of 62. It's addressed to Miss Jackie Siebert of Alfred, New York. It reads, 9/21. Dear Jackie, Hi, I imagine you're beginning classes today. We had a great time, acting like kids. Some of the stuff was closed, but we managed to have a full day. This ride is fun, but the Matterhorn and Pirates are the best. I sent you a present. Let me know how, yes how, it arrives. If it's damaged, I can get you another one. Love, me. When looking up a topic today, I found out that the short Gala Day at Disneyland premiered on January 21st, 1960, 63 years ago today. This 27-minute featurette was released to movie theaters and was eventually combined with the true-life adventure documentary entitled Olympic Elk. These two were shown on an episode of The Wonderful World of Disney as Disneyland 61/Olympic Elk on May 28, 1961. Most of the footage from the Gala Day at Disneyland was from the opening day ceremonies for the 1959 Disneyland expansion. Throughout the program, statistics from the first 4 years of the park operations were sprinkled, like 1 in 10 Americans have visited Disneyland, or the Disneyland Railroad has traveled around the park equivalent to 7 times around the world, and the horse-drawn streetcar has pulled 7 million guests down Main Street for a total of 121,000 horse-powered miles. There was a parade filmed with floats from some of the new attractions and featuring some of the original attractions as well. One of the floats had a mock-up of the Golden Horseshoe with a bar fight, while another float had a Jungle Cruise boat with skippers frantically running around. The parade also included Walt Disney, Roy Disney, and special guests Annette Funicello, the Shaggy Dog, and the current Vice President, Richard Nixon, plus the Dixieland Band Firehouse 5+2 playing down Main Street on the fire engine. During the parade, some of the performers threw souvenirs out to the crowd, including artificial snowballs from the Matterhorn float, beaded necklaces from mermaids on the submarine float, and flowers from the Italy section of the Countries of the World section of the parade. It's amazing to see the bleacher-style seating added to Main Street, which gave guests a better view, and it filled up the screen with more people when they were filming this featurette. On a personal note, I have a friend who participated in this parade and was fortunate enough to meet Walt Disney after the event. She still has his autograph on a scratched piece of paper, similar to the autographs he would pre-sign and hand out to guests who recognized him at the park. Do you know what's great to put on a special greeting card? Vintage stamps from Enfield Post. Be sure to check out the special Sunday sales at EP Sunday Sale on Instagram. It's a great way to add a little bit of flair to a birthday card, holiday card, or a postcard. That's EP Sunday Sale on Instagram, or you can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELD POST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the Matterhorn. You can see part of the House of the Future on the right, as well as part of the monorail track circling the base of the Matterhorn. On the back it reads, Matterhorn, Tomorrowland. Disneyland's newest landmark, the snow-capped Matterhorn, towers majestically over all of the Magic Kingdom. 2 high-speed bobsled runs carry guests down its slopes and through a glacier grotto inside the mountain. It's postmarked June 23, 1961, with an Anaheim cancel and a red 7-cent airmail postage stamp, Scott number C60. I assume they visit the park on Thursday, June 22nd, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 77 and a low of 61. Park attendance that day was 27,321. It's addressed to a Miss Mary Oster of Washington, D.C. It reads, 6/22/61. Dear Aunt Mary, Daddy, Jeff, and I spent the day at Disneyland. It certainly is a fantastic place and is everything I've ever heard about it. We went to Pasadena yesterday, saw the Rose Bowl and the street where they have the Rose Parade. The weather here is nice, lots of sunshine. Love, Janet. The Gala Day at Disneyland continues with the launching of the first submarine, with Admiral Charles Kirkpatrick, a Navy band, and some of the infamous Disneyland mermaids. The film shows mermaids swimming around the submarine lagoon, doing a water ballet. The first submarine of the original 7 submarines that set out was the Nautilus. Surprisingly, most of the submarine voyage is shown during the presentation. There's a comical view of the outside of the submarine, where you can see the shaggy dog on the attraction, looking through one of the portholes surprised. The next ceremony shown is just above the submarines. The official ribbon cutting of the monorail was done by Walt and the Nixon family. There's a clip of Walt with Richard Nixon's daughters, Julia and Tricia, trying to cut the ribbon with oversized scissors which could not tear through the ribbon. In the end, Walt wraps his hand around the ribbon and rips it apart. This footage has been reused and replayed on many different Disney specials and documentaries. The film continues with the opening of the Matterhorn and members of the Sierra Mountain Climbing Club scaling the mountain. Looking through the book, The Wonderful World of Disney Television, A Complete History by Bill Cotter, it's mentioned that some of the footage is also used in Kodak Presents Disneyland 59, which aired before the Gala Day at Disneyland, and that the flags flown at the top of the Matterhorn were not the US flag and Swiss flag, but the US flag and the Danish flag. I assume some of this footage was cut, so that viewers wouldn't be able to see the flags. There's a note in the book that the studio received many letters about the mistake. The final moments of the special include some recordings of Disneyland at night with fireworks. It's interesting to see how Disney used to promote new attractions at the park. I hope we see more fun openings like this in the future, maybe for the Tron Light Cycle in Florida, or for both coasts for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I've seen many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has the Millennium Falcon. Next to a docking bay in Batuu at night, you can see guests walking right into Smuggler's Run, and if you look closely, you can see 2 Disneyland garbage cans. It's postmarked January 12, 2023, with a Santa Ana cancel and a U.S. flag forever postage stamp, Scott number 5344. It reads, Clocky, we made a postcard. You get the first one. We are thankful for you, Mr. Daps. Clocky, look how cool and with the times we are. Next step, 8 tracks. We're going to bring them back, just you watch. Thanks for being you, Buddy Pal, Heart, Katie. Thank you, Daps Magic, for the postcard and the Sent from Disneyland exclusive story. Mr. Daps has some amazing photos of the park, and I'm excited to see more postcards sent by the team at Daps Magic, or even for sale at the Daps Magic shop. if you're not following Mr. Daps, Katie, Daps Magic, or Geeks Corner, I'll add their Instagram handles to the show notes. Daps Magic is where I go for Disney and geek news. I really enjoy the positive and friendly environment created by the team. It was great to get this postcard, especially after just hanging out with them on Sunday night. As usual, I'm always excited to see what's on the next postcard I receive from the park. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/SentFromDisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent From Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent From Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent From Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guest of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.